Hey, it's me, Nalthazar, and welcome to another video. In this one, I'm going to be going over my M21 Mythic chase cards. So there are quite a few of these, so let's just buckle in and get rolling. The first of my M21 chase cards for the Mythic range is Angie Falconwrath. Angie is a 10 mana for a 3/5 haste vampire with Madness 3. So when you discard a card, then this card gains 3 mana, and then this card cannot be discarded. You can exile it from your hand, but you can't discard it from your hand. When this creature attacks, you may discard the last card in your hand. If you do, draw a card and your opponent loses 4 life. And then the real bread and butter for this card is when you discard a card from your hand, if you have a card with Madness in your hand, reinforce this creature. So there are a few different cards with Madness in the set, not to mention that Angie has Madness herself. And then if you were to pair this with like Volrath, the new masterpiece where you change its base power toughness to 7/5 when you mutate it, then you could be playing stuff like Song of Creation where you're discarding 5 cards a turn, and then something like Dragon Mage, which is going to make you discard more cards, just a bunch of stuff like that, and then discard in the realm of 10 plus cards a turn, which would mean that Angie would be gaining 70 plus power per turn. So I'm really excited to try this one out. This one definitely looks really strong to me. 10 mana seems very reasonable for this ability, and there are just so many cards that enable discard right now that she could wind up being an incredibly powerful card. The second of my cards is Azula Lost But Seeking. I absolutely love this card in Paper Magic, but the way that they have adapted her to Puzzle Quest looks pretty good too. So she's also 10 mana, she's a 5/6, and when you convert 2 or more gems to green, your green mana bonus is increased by 1 until end of turn. This effect can trigger up to 3 times per turn. Hopefully, the mana bonus increase is going to come before the gems are converted and matched, but we'll have to see. Now, there's just so much conversion running around between a bunch of spells that will convert to green, and then just running supports like Castle Garenbrig, or Gingerbread Cabin, or Nissa's Pilgrimage. It's going to be really easy to boost your green mana bonus by 3 permanently, right? Basically just have a permanent +3 to your green mana bonus. And then when you cast a support that is a land, convert 3 gems to your Planeswalker's colors. This effect can trigger up to 3 times per turn. So if you are playing this in, say, Nissa Worldwaker deck, which is where I foresee myself trying this out initially, I'd be running a bunch of lands. Or, I mean, you could even try and run this with a bunch of gates and see how that goes. But ultimately, I think monocolor Planeswalker is going to be the way to go for Azula. And so I'm interested to try this one out. I don't know if it'll wind up being really strong, but it definitely looks strong to me. It's one of those that you have to play to figure out. Next on the list is Baneslayer Angel. This one's pretty straightforward. It's 17 for an 8/8 flying lifelink first strike, protection from red, protection from black. And while it's on the battlefield, it gets +3/+3 for each demon or dragon your opponent controls. So this thing is going to be an absolute pain to get rid of for your opponents, especially if they have creature, giving Baneslayer hexproof, like a red or a black creature. And then on top of that, it's just, even if they don't, it's an 8/8 flying lifelink first strike for 17, which is solid in and of itself. It's definitely not broken. It's not something that you're going to break, but it's something that's going to be really strong. Bane, Tolerian Archmage. So this card is more of just potentially cool or potentially absolutely garbage. So Bane is 12 for a 5/5. Bane has flash, and when you cast this card, you may return another non-token creature you control to your hand. If you do, disable that card until end of turn. It gains full mana and gains flash. It also has anticipation, so when you play a card with flash during your opponent's turn, you may return another target non-token creature you control to your hand. If you do, draw 2 cards, and this creature gets +2/+2. So if in the flash rework we're able to play cards with flash in response to our opponent playing things, then this could be really good, because your opponent could play a removal spell, and then in response you play something in flash and bounce the creature that your opponent was going to remove, and then just negate that removal spell. Also, what I'm really interested with is this card's ability when you cast it. What happens if you have, say, a creature with Defender in the first slot? It blocks something and takes lethal damage. And then they have a second creature that attacks. And when that second creature attacks, you then have Bane enter the battlefield. and then you target the creature that just took lethal damage to bounce back to your hand. Because it's not until the end of combat that creatures actually die in Puzzle Quest. So I'm wondering if this would be a way to make it so that you could give a creature that has Defender like an extra life, which would be pretty cool. And then it gives it full mana too. So I'm excited to see that for sure. Unfortunately, it has disabled that card until end of turn. I guess that means that you're probably not going to be able to just replay it if you cast it during your own turn. But if you cast it during your opponent's turn, then you could potentially just replay that creature during your opponent's turn because it's going to have flash. This could also be useful for objectives where you need to cast X or more of a specific type of creature, because you could just use Baron to just recast those creatures. Next one is Brash Taunter. I love goblins, but this one's particularly cool. It's 15 for a 4/4 with Defender and Prevent Damage. It can only block one creature per turn, if able, but honestly, to me, that's fine. Blocking one creature with 4/4, you're eventually going to whittle your opponent's creatures down. And not only that, but it has when this creature blocks or is blocked, it deals X damage to your opponent's planeswalker, where X is the opposing creature's power. It also will activate 3 gems to give itself Berserker. If you pair this with, say, something like Embercleave, this is going to be an absolute threat for your opponent, because it's going to be swinging for Berserker and killing stuff, and then it's going to be blocking stuff. And with Embercleave, it'll be a 6/6 with double strike, so it'll be hitting for 12 both ways. I really don't see there being good ways apart from spell removal for this, and so this could be a serious problem, especially with Embercleave in current standard. Very, very good looking card. Then comes Chromatic Ori. So this is 24 mana for a support. That's pretty hefty, but we've got a bunch of things that we can use that benefit from having high cost supports. I'm thinking Narset's second ability. I'm thinking Idyllic Tutor, which is going to be able to fetch this and give it half of its mana. I'm thinking Emery, which is going to be able to bring this back from the graveyard for free. So there's a whole bunch of ways that we could try and cheat Chromatic Ori into play, or that we could do something where we can lessen its mana cost or use its mana to our gain to get a little bit more out of it. So the effect of it is actually pretty cool too. So at the beginning of your turn, your colored mana bonuses become 4 until end of turn. So that means that you can gain a heck of a lot of mana with this card. And then it also has, when you activate a loyalty ability, convert 2 gems to each color. I actually really dislike that part of the ability because it's going to convert a whole bunch of gems to basically what will be seemingly random colors. So it'd be cool if it matched them to like your own Planeswalker's colors, but that's not the case. That being said, it does have activate 2 of each color, draw a card. That means it's going to be activating 10 gems to draw cards. So not only is this going to make your mana bonuses go up a lot, but it's going to make it so you draw a ton of cards. So this could wind up being a really cool card to play with. Double Vision is crazy strong. So it's 13 mana, it's a support with 3 shields, and while it's on the board, copy the first red spell you cast each turn and give that copy full mana. Now, the power of this card is going to really depend on if it gives full mana to cards that have stored mana, so X in their cost. There are a bunch of cards that when you copy them, or when you use them to copy something and give them full mana, they give the card full mana, but then they don't give them the full stored mana. Whereas then you have cards that give them both full mana and full stored mana, and they all have the same text. That card gains full mana. So I'm interested to see how it works with this one. I'm especially thinking of cards like Electro Dominance with this, where you just cast 1 Electro Dominance and then boom, that's worth 20. That's going to be worth 20 damage and 20 mana, which is going to be pretty sweet. And this is going to be especially good with something like Fiery Emancipation, which is coming up in, I think, 2 cards. And it's the new red support that makes it so that when you cast a spell, it deals damage equal to its converted mana cost to your opponent. So it doesn't matter if it's a copy or not. So yeah, there's some really cool red spell stuff. I think Jaya is going to have a blast with this set. Our next card is Elder Gargaroth. I mentioned this one during my Planeswalker video, but I'm incredibly excited for this card with brand new Garuk. This thing has such insane synergy with new Garuk that just getting this card would make it worth it for you to get new Garuk alone. Just end of story. This thing, I think I mentioned it can reinforce itself if you use Garuk's second ability, which is 12 loyalty. It can reinforce itself up to 10 times per turn, which is absolute madness considering that this is a 9/9 body. This thing is going to be able to be a really, really strong, beefy creature. On top of that, it's already a 9/9 with Vigilance, Trample, and if you don't want to make the beast tokens, you could just make it so you gain an extra 3 life and draw an extra card per turn. This is a very solid creature. This brings us to Fiery Emancipation. I mentioned it a moment ago with the red enchantment that casts things twice. But this thing is going to be terrifying, guys. Like, super terrifying. So when a red creature you control deals combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, deal X damage to your opponent's planeswalker. X is 3 times that creature's power. Think of this with, say, Quartzwood Crasher, where the Quartzwood Crasher is hitting and making a token, and that token's hitting, and that token's getting enormous. That thing is already massively powerful on its own. It makes games end so fast. Now imagine you get Fiery Emancipation down. Just like, how much damage are you going to do? Like, I know that for PvP, that's basically irrelevant because you're going to kill your opponent so quickly with Quartzwood. But in PvE events, holy cow, are you going to be able to burn through health with this thing? I mean, goodness gracious. You give Quartzwood double strike, and then now you've got the ×3. You throw in Xenagos and some other things, and you're going to be doing a lot of damage. This is a terrifying card, and I haven't even gotten to the bottom part. So when you cast a red spell, deal damage to your opponent's planeswalker equal to that spell's base mana cost. Now, I know that this is a 22 mana support, but, I mean, like I mentioned with the Orrery, we've got a whole bunch of things that are going to enable us to do some sweet stuff with supports that cost a lot of mana. I mean, even if you wanted to run this in like a red-white deck or, you know, once again, Narset, and you discard it and then you have something like Starfield of Nyx bring it back. I mean, there's just so much bad stuff you can do with this card. So, yeah, this is a big-time chase card for me. Garuks Harbinger. This is another super baddie. It's 15 for a 7/6 with protection from black. And when this creature deals combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, fetch the first creature or Vanguard card from your library. Then, if that's a green creature or a Vanguard with Garuk subtype, that card gains mana equal to the damage dealt this way. So since this is when it deals combat damage and it's not when it attacks, you give this thing double strike and bad things happen. If you make this the only creature in your deck, you're going to get to the point where you're going to be fetching and playing 2 of these things every single turn. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So there's some pretty wacky stuff you can do with this guy. Really strong. Honestly, like really strong. I mean, you could even, instead of just going like with this and getting 2 of these, you could throw in Otrimi, you can mutate this thing. You can do so much to make this thing crazy strong. There's so many good green creatures. I mean, the Vanguard with Garuk subtype is largely pointless. We don't have a good one of those yet. Maybe we're going to get some new Vanguards in M20, and that will change. But this is a creature that's going to be able to roll out really strong. Think of this as like a better version of Woodland Behemoth from the original Origin set, because instead of giving 6 mana, I think it is, this thing is just going to give a minimum of 7, and it's going to jump up really quickly. So I see this being very strong. It's going to be amazing for objectives where you need to summon X or more beasts or some number of creatures with power 5 or greater, 4 or greater, or 6 or 7 or greater, or whatever it's going to be. This dude's going to be a powerhouse for that. Girid Conclave Exile. So this guy is 15 for a 5/8. It has Bravery, meaning that when it attacks, it's going to be put into the first creature slot. And then when it enters the battlefield, you create a Rhino token. We have a few other cards that create Rhino tokens. Rhino tokens are 4/4s with Trample. So you're going to get a 5/8 and you're going to get a 4/4 token with Trample for playing Girid. Also, it has when this creature attacks, Populate. So that's just going to reinforce that 4/4 token, meaning that if you play this, right, you're getting a 4/4 token, and then the first time it attacks, it's automatically making that 4/4 token an 8/8, and it's just going to get bigger from there. This definitely is not as good as Quartzwood Crasher, even though it costs less mana, but it's nonetheless a really powerful card. It's very good, and you can use it in white. So I'm interested to see what more you can do with this that you wouldn't necessarily do with Quartzwood. This brings us to Grim Tutor. Grim Tutor is an amazing card in paper. I'm an EDH/Commander player mostly, or sealed, but this card is going to be pretty good in Puzzle Quest too. It costs 6 mana, which is very reasonable. There are actually a whole bunch of things that like fetch you cards and give them 5 or 6 mana, so this is going to be pretty nice for that. And it's going to have pick one of the first different cards from your library, fetch that card, it gains half its mana, then lose 6 life. Now, when it says pick one of the first 4 different cards, that doesn't mean pick one of the top 4 cards. It means 4 different. So that means you're guaranteed to be given 4 different cards to choose from, and you get half mana on that, which means it's not going to be something like Talent of the Telepath, where you're just giving 6 mana. You're actually giving half. So this is going to work really well with the higher cost spells in your deck, or creatures, or supports. It's just because, you know, paper magic, everything is a spell that's not a land. But yeah, this thing could be really, really useful. I see myself throwing it into a lot of my black decks, at the very least to try it out. Losing 6 life really isn't that bad. There's a whole bunch of ways we have of gaining life right now. So, and in all colors because of things like Shadow Spear. So yeah, this card looks really good to me. Jolrael Moinvuli Recluse. So Jolrael looks like a replacement to Trostani to me in a way when Trostani leaves standard. So Jolrael is 16 for a 4/6. She's got Resourceful 3, so when you draw your second, third, and fourth card per turn, you're going to create a green cat token. We don't have green cat tokens, I don't think. They could be 2/2s, but my guess is they're going to be 1/1s. Maybe we'll get lucky and they'll have lifelink like the white cat tokens. I'm not sure. And then this thing also has Activate 1, 2-turn green. So you're going to get an activated gem that pops in 2 turns, guaranteed. Your creature's base power and toughness becomes XX until end of turn. X is the number of cards in your hand. Now, if you've seen any of my videos when Throne of Eldraine came out, where I'm using Nissa Worldwaker and I'm using Kenrith's Transformation, this is before they did something completely unspeakable to Kenrith's Transformation and made it so it just made the creature's power toughness become 3/3, not the base power toughness become 3/3. Moment of silence for Kenrith's, by the way. Really sad times. Moment over. This thing is better because this thing's going to make it so that those tokens can become 6/6s. It's base power toughness, so that means that your little forest tokens are going to be getting big. They're going to be getting swole. Those forest tokens are going to have sweet, sweet guns on them. Not like me. I am a nerd. So, yeah, but swole, right? So, not me, again. The tokens, because they're going to be 6/6. So, if you think about it, even just using your first on Nissa Worldwaker is going to be getting you a 24/24 instead of a 4/4. And that's just if you've used it one time. On top of that, you have all these other things that you can do to make tokens. And the Activate gem is always going to be on green, so you're going to be running a bunch of green gem conversion if you're running Nissa. So, yeah, Nissa is like my favorite walker in the game, and this complements Nissa perfectly. I was kind of wondering what I'd be replacing Trostani with. I think it's going to be this. Krond, the Dawnclad. Apart from that face, right? Look at this thing. Here, we're going to zoom in for just a hot moment there. Look. He's super terrifying. I would not want to run into that guy in a dark alley. At all. Look at that. The blindfold. Or maybe I would. I don't know. Probably not, actually. If it's a dark alley, I can't see. Maybe he can. And what's with those scales? Woo, you zoomed out way too far, my dude. All right, anyways. Krond, Dawnclad, is 6/6, flying with vigilance. When this creature attacks, if it's enchanted, exile an opposing non-land support. This can affect Vanguard supports, and if you can't, exile the last opposing creature. So this is super, super sweet, especially if you're running it in an Eidolon of Blossoms deck. It's going to be really easy to enchant this thing. There's a new rare enchantment, something Umbra, Penumbral Umbra or something like that, where if the thing dies, just bring it right back. So basically, you put that thing on Krond and then just have Krond basically take absolute control of the game, because he's going to exile all your opponent's supports, then he's going to exile your opponent's creatures, and then once your opponent's out of supports, it's basically it's almost like game over for them unless they play removal on this thing, because it's just going to keep removing stuff every single turn. Supports, creatures, doesn't matter. Lands, however, those do stay, sadly. So Krond could be really strong. I'm not sure if it being 18 mana and needing to be enchanted is going to be something that holds it back, or if it's really going to be a non-factor because we have so much green gem conversion, and Eidolon of Blossoms basically makes it so that mana means nothing. Oh, this sweet baby. Okay, this is my #1 chase card for the whole set right now. Actually, believe it or not, this is the #1 card for me. This is Stormwing Entity. It is 17 mana for a 6/6, and when you cast a spell, if this card's in your hand, reduce its cost by 3, permanently. Then this creature gets +1/+1, permanently. Then Prowess, whenever you cast a non-creature card, if this is on the battlefield, this creature gets +3/+3, permanently. When this creature enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards. That means that if you're running this in a Prowess deck, which is going to be really, really, really easy to get going, we have a lot of card draw that also gives mana. We have a lot of things that are going to convert gems to green. and prowess also includes support, so we can throw in stuff like Omen of the Hunt. I'm immediately seeing this card paired with like a blue-green deck, probably Kiora. I'm not adding Brokon or one of those 3-color walkers just because a lot of the conversion is based on your Planeswalker's colors, so we want to minimize the possibilities. But we've got Animist's Awakening, we've got, I think it's called Circuitous Route, we've got Omen of the Hunt, we've got Cultivate, we've got Talent of the Telepath. There are 2 brand new blue spells that both draw cards and gain mana. One's a common, one's an uncommon. You're going to be basically getting this thing for 0 mana. And not only is this thing going to be 0 mana, but it's going to be buffing up really, really quickly. You pair this with the whatever, Lord Voldemort of the Infinite masterpiece, and that thing is going to make it so that you draw cards whenever you play a spell, and it has prowess, and this thing has prowess, and when you play this, it's not like other creatures where it loses a card in your hand, but this thing draws its cards back. This thing is going to be an absolute savage in Standard and Legacy. Mark my words, this thing is absolutely disgusting. It is a filth mongrel on steroids with lightning and beautiful art. This card is going to be really, really strong. Really, really strong. Subira Tulzidi Caravaneer. So this card definitely looks cool to me. I don't know if it's going to be great, but it could be, right? So it's 10 for a 3/4. It has haste, it's legendary, and it has bravery. So when it attacks, it becomes the first creature. When this creature attacks, your other creatures with base power 3 or less gain double strike and unblockable until end of turn. I see her having an affair with Krenko and them making many, many goblin babies that have double strike that absolutely shred our opponents. Please don't think graphically about what I said. Just imagine those 2 cards together. I think it's going to be really strong. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may discard all cards from your hand. If you do, your creatures with base power 3 or less get +3/+3 until end of turn. You draw 3 cards. That means that this thing's going to get +3/+3. Papa Krenko's getting +3/+3, which means that the goblin tokens are going to be getting effectively +6/+6 because the goblin tokens are getting +3/+3, and Krenko's going to be making 3 extra goblin tokens, which means that if you take the 6, 3, and 3 for 12 and double it, this thing just basically guarantees that you add 24 damage a turn once you already have Krenko and the goblins down. And once you're already at that stage, you're already going to be just completely shredding your opponent. And Krenko doesn't cost a lot of mana. This thing doesn't cost a lot of mana. So, I mean, probably going to be really easy to get rolling. I'm actually really excited about this for, like, funsies and making Krenko even more busted than it already is. But, yeah, definitely cool card. I like it. Terror of the Peaks. This card, I was hoping would let us do damage based on the creature's power, not based on the base power, but it's nonetheless still an absolutely terrifying card. So it's 17 for an 8/7 flyer. When it becomes the target of a spell your opponent controls, your opponent loses 6 life. So if they try and destroy this thing, they lose 6 life. And then if it's targeted destruction, right? Non-targeted does not hurt you. Them, I should say. And then when another creature enters the battlefield under your control, deal X damage to any opposing target, which is extra sweet because you can use this to just completely mutilate your opponent's creatures. If your opponent doesn't have creatures, you use this to just kill your opponent. As it's when another creature enters the battlefield, that makes it so that nonsense like Eerie Ultimatum is going to work for this. What's it called? Killer Instinct is going to work for this. Oh my goodness. I'm going to bet that you guys can hear that card outside. I thought that like something just like let out the most massive rip, but nope, that was just a car engine starting. Jeez. I looked over to be like, is the cat next to me? Is it even possible for a cat to fart that loud? And then no, it's just a car. So, yeah. Sorry for that. Probably TMI. Keep rolling. Veto, Thorn of the Dusk Rose. This is the very last one on my list. And last but not least, this guy is horrifying. Yes, you absolutely want to make sure you get this card. This is a premier chase card. Veto, Thorn of the Dusk Rose is an absolute savage. It's 15 for a 4/6. When you gain life, your opponent loses that much life. It also has Renewal 6. At the beginning of combat on your turn, your creatures gain lifelink until end of turn. So there are a ton of ways that you can gain life. Let's say that you put this into a Garuk 2 deck. You've got Nissa's Revelation, which you can use to draw cards, gain 20 life, give all your creatures lifelink. You can use something like Garuk's second ability, destroy a creature, gain life, activate the renewal, all your guys have lifelink. Or, I mean, just play it in, like, any other deck and use something else that gains life. This is kind of like the masterpiece that was definitely the best masterpiece from Ixalan, Sanguine Bond, but as you can see, Sanguine Bond is a support that loses shields when the ability goes off to deal damage to your opponent when you gain life. This dude does not lose power toughness. He just stays on the battlefield and absolutely max down on your opponent. You throw this thing in with something like Alhammarret's Archive, which is going to double your life gain, and you're going to do some dirty, dirty, dirty bad things. If you want to be a particularly evil person, you can throw this thing in with Azor's Gateway and Life Gainosaurus, aka Verdant Sun Avatar, into Legacy, and you basically can create an infinite loop of drawing cards with a number of other shenanigans and mana and from the life gain and life gain that did... You just kill your opponent. That's it. The life gain kills your opponent. There's nothing they can do about it. And unlike with Sanguine Bond, once again, you don't have to worry about making your opponent lose life and having that make it so that you lose shields. So this dude is going to be an absolute savage. One other really cool combo with this dude actually is, I'm actually really excited to try this one out. You pair this thing up with High Alert, Xenagos, Embercleave, and you give this thing lifelink. So let's say that we throw on Shadow Spear, and that actually gives it times 16 damage. That's right, 16 times the damage. So let's say that you've got the Shadow Spear, Embercleave, right? You put those on this thing. Shadow Spear gives +3/+3, I think. Embercleave gives +2/+2. That's going to be +5. This thing is now going to have 9 power. It's going to be a 9/6. Let's go ahead and pretend that Xenagos is giving the +6 also. That puts it at 15, which means that you attack with this thing. It's going to be doing 15 times 16 damage, which is, I believe, 240. So you attack this with this dude. You don't have any like reinforcements or buffs apart from just the other stuff equipped to this thing. And this dude is swinging for 240 damage every turn. I'm not exaggerating. This thing is an absolute savage. Really good card. So those are all of my mythics that I'm going to be chasing. I'm obviously going to probably get all of them because I am, collecting everything. But nonetheless, I'm eager to hear what your guys' chase cards are. Let me know if yours match up with mine, especially if like the ones that I'm particularly targeting, like Stormwing Entity and Veto and stuff like that, are the ones that you guys are also targeting. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.